Alrighty gamers, welcome into Retro Time. I'm Nosage Time, and I'm not going to be able to use this as much today, but I want to talk about some more Zelda lore. There is something in here I'm going to try to use this for, and we're going to determine how the Twilight Realm might be connected to the game A Link Between Worlds. And we're going to go into the timeline and take a look at why I'm saying this could connect. And this is going to be, might be a pretty long video, so strap in. And if you're excited, stick around and watch. And I will show you how much of a fan I am of this game. So, this franchise, actually. So, let's get into it. Alright, so to start, the two games I mainly want to talk about here, and why I think they might want to revise this down to just two timelines, because this one here makes the most sense to me why it's off by itself, because the way the graphics are and all that, and the way, just in general, like, this was a big old ocean they were on the whole entire time. So, these two right here are the two I think actually need to go together and collide together. And let me explain why. Because this here is considered as a version of, in Twilight Princess, there's a version of Hyrule you go into that is completely mirrored compared to comparable to A Link Between Worlds. Best ways to say it. Alright? And I saw this a lot over here in this timeline over here, okay? So, A Link to the Past I haven't yet played. Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, I played a little bit of them. They do go into the idea of having, an upside down world or an alternate dimension that you go into that, is just a mirrored version of Hyrule and what it was. I've seen that in all of these, okay? And we see that in Twilight Princess. So this timeline right here might actually be connected into this timeline at some point. If they sit there and revise this whole timeline, I could see this becoming a much longer timeline. Now, this over here could possibly just stay by itself. This is just my opinion. But I'm going to give my reasons why I perceive this to be what I'm saying as an example of, how this could connect into here, and why, in Legend of Zelda lore, we do see a lot of things where you go into this, you're in mirrored version of Hyrule. And Link's Awakening was another example of a game that just was a mirrored version of Hyrule, and you pretty much, you were in it the whole entire time. Which, up here, I don't want to give away the ending of it, but he's asleep the whole entire game, alright? And, in here, he's asleep also, but he's asleep because he placed the sword into the stone. And that's why I could foresee this being over here, because this is also, like, some of this is dream state, in A Link Between Worlds. If you look at it realistically, what is it called? If we go over to here, I'm going to pull this up, and then I'm going to explain who that is to you guys. Alright, so this is called Lorule, which is like the upside down mirrored version of Hyrule. Alright, and you end up like getting in here by having a spell casted on you, and then you go into a wall. Now, the Twilight Dimension, the Twilight Realm, is just a mirrored version of what, what we have here. It's exactly the same thing. Could Twilight Princess in the Twilight Realm have taken place inside of Lorule, which is the upside down version? Again, the mirrored version of, Hyrule. Yeah, the mirrored version of Hyrule. And pretty much this is considered as dark world you're in. And what is Twilight? A darker world, not with light. Okay. So, there's a reason I think Twilight Princess also, if you go even deeper into it, I will explain it. But first, I want to get into why I'm questioning this and why I do think this should be on the other timeline instead of that disconnected timeline. I think they go back and fix it. But I do, I do agree that there could possibly be more than one princess in here for multiple reasons. But we're gonna actually right now I'm gonna show you who Princess Hilda is. Okay, Princess Hilda is pretty much just like Zelda, the upside down version of Zelda, okay? So when you read the description over here, traditionally Princess Hilda is Princess of Lorule and a principal character in A Link Between Worlds. So that's the game you want to play right there to understand what I mean. She is Lorule's counterpart of Princess Zelda and assists Link on his quest, okay? So there's a big wow moment towards the end of A Link Between Worlds that I'm not going to spoil here. It's hard to not spoil this. But when you also look at it, you can come over and look at Midna. Okay, this is her true form. Again, this is Twilight. Okay, everything is pretty much mirrored in Twilight World. All right, Dark World, Twilight World. All right, and you can see Midna is she looks a lot different. If you look at her, like, other form, which, let me pull that up for you guys. Now, I don't know why they put her like this. This is just like, okay, so there she is her human form. Green looking woman, blue skin, kind of greenish skin. Sort of looks like Poison Ivy if you want to go into it. But, like, looking at it, this is her in her, she got turned into this, and she is actually considered as leader of, let me see if this race comes up. All right, so back to what I was saying. She was in this form way before when you first met her in the game. Okay, this is a race which I'm probably gonna look into in the future and see exactly what happened to these guys. But again, this is Twilight Realm, so everything is a little bit different, and just some things are just different, not always mirrored, but you pretty much have the same exact example of what Hyrule is, just mirrored version of it. Okay, so example, the bad guy in Twilight Realm is this guy right here, Zant. All right, Zant is the bad guy in Twilight. All right, there's two bad guys, two stories going on with Twilight Princess. That's why I like Twilight Princess a lot. And you go back to A Link Between Worlds. Now, the villain in A Link Between Worlds is this person right here. You get blasted into a wall by Yuga here, and that's how you ended up in Dark World, pretty much. So this would be the counterpart of Ganon, because in the end, Yuga Ganon turns into this. So essentially, we have another version of Ganon in the upside down world, Dark World, which makes a lot of sense, because you can even see here by looking at him, very similar to Ganon, and we have a very similar, it's not Ganon, but you're getting the general idea of how close it could compare to Ganon, because Ganon was into dark magic. All right, everything in Lorule is just a darker version of itself, and that's why I keep bringing this subject up. And everything in Twilight Realm is a darker version of itself. Again, we're seeing this ultimate question I have to end this video, and we're gonna get to this, and this is why I think the two timelines could connect, and there might be more than one princess in Lorule, which would be Twilight Realm. So, and here we have, all right, we have this version, which if you look it up, you look up who this is. Now, this is the counterpart of Link. This is essentially Link with dark hair. All right, that gives away his plot line and what he's doing in here, but he he must not be as strong, so they needed a hero of light to come to uh this version of Hyrule to save, everything. And he leads Link into the rest of the story. So in Twilight Princess, as you can see, there's a lot of comparabilities to how I could see this physically as an example of Nintendo could have just put this with that center timeline. Now, my question is the fact that Midna is the Twilight Princess and she's part of her own little clan of these people, would that essentially mean there's more than one race down there? Could this essentially be their version of the Gerudo? Because, when you think about it, the Gerudo women are tall, beautiful women, and then you got in Dark Realm, Twilight Realm, or Dark World, you could have the Twilight Princess, which would be essentially another form of the Gerudo, because she's just very provocatively like the Gerudo women. She's just very tribalistically, again, Gerudo women. So, and being connected to Zant, when you go back and look at it, Zant is the bad guy for Twilight. So, I'm just looking at things from a perspective, but there might be more than one Twilight Princess in Lorule. Alright? It would make sense for that. And after coming to this conclusion and this full-on connection and looking at the timeline, the newest timeline, which, let me go back and find it, you can see how I would say these would connect. And they should have never made this timeline right here, because there is no real reason for this third actual timeline over here, because you can push everything over and it still leads back directly down to where it's supposed to go, and we could just essentially leave this here and leave this one be by itself, because this is the only part of the series that I know that could be a standalone part of its series, because it's all connected and it has the same style graphics. These right here, I can understand what they're doing here because of how this is drawn, because Link looks entirely different in all these. But at the same time, you could essentially bring it over here, and we could have this whole entire timeline be based on Twilight Realm, which is pretty much the mirrored version of Hyrule. And that's why I've come to this conclusion that Lorule has more than one princess, and we just don't hear about it in other games, unfortunately. I mean, Link's Awakening it really threw me off at the end, because it was like, just a story of him taking one long nap and having all these, he was kind of stuck in this nightmare, but not as bad as Majora's Mask right here. So for me, this has physical proof of it just intertwining and connecting together. And let me explain how it would work. So if you go here, okay? You go here. You could simply put, and now this is going even deeper, but this could simply go right here, or right after this, because this is called a link to the past, okay? Which means it's a time shift thing. Alright, Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons could take place right before Twilight Princess. Link's Awakening could take place right after Twilight or before Twilight Princess. And A Link Between Worlds definitely could take place after Twilight Princess. Alright, Triforce Heroes, Four Swords, it could take place before or after, depending on how you look at it. And then the Legend of Zelda, just Ganon's Resurrected, which is the basic first mainline game, could be right here. And then the Adventure of Link, which I believe is Zelda 2, could be right here. We could have this whole timeline shift over and have two timelines of Zelda, and the reason I'm saying this is because this could just be the it's a mess right now, and if I was to sit down, I would just revise the whole thing and just, go and fix it. Because even here, A Link to the Past, we could have put this like right after Legend of Zelda, because technically after, well, not Legend of Zelda, but Ocarina of Time, we could have technically put this right after Ocarina of Time, and and after Ocarina of Time, he does simply go back to being a kid again, which again, Link to the Past, and Ganon's resurrected. It could go right here. Like it, there's a lot of wild stuff that could be adjusted here, but I do think they could intertwine this timeline with this. Now, I'm not the one who made this timeline. Nintendo actually made this timeline. These just got added in as an updated timeline, which, as you can see, the most games on the only timeline are this one over here. So, and you scroll down, you got this right here. So, it's just all like, it really needs to be adjusted and fixed. But I do believe that the Twilight Princess and A Link Between Worlds somehow has a connection. And sitting here and looking at the whole thing, how it's very, very comparable to each other, you can see exactly why I would say that. Now, A Link Between Worlds and a Twilight Princess have like two versions of Hyrule in it also. And I'm gonna actually go back and play it because I want to try to remember some things about it. But yeah, A Link Between Worlds is really good. I suggest playing it. Twilight Princess, very, very great game. It's one of my top rated because of the story and plot line in it. So I want to like try to go back and play both of them and see if I can, like, while playing the games, to make a deeper connection with them. And maybe there's something there that most people haven't picked up. Most people are playing Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild right now, which are fine. But I'm not big on this right here. All this stuff out here doesn't make sense to me. And Age of Calamity, it goes off in its own, and then you got Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom here, which is just strange. So it's, again, they're doing stuff with it. Now, I want to say we could look at Age of Calamity and put it somewhere in here, but I don't think that would even work, because again, the way this is told, it's kind of invalid to everything Zelda related, and they kind of messed up right here. This should have never been a thing they did, but they did it anyway because they wanted to, increase popularity of the next game coming out. So I think that's where I end this. I hope this conclusion makes sense to you, and I hope you understand what I'm getting at, because there's a lot to take in with this video, and I think I did a really good job of explaining it to you guys. Now, again, like, I really do think that Hyrule's decline in the last hero timeline could intertwine with this, and they could just be one single timeline and then leave this here to go, because again, they were discovering a new world, and we could just have those two. But that's just my opinion. So, all right, so there you go, there you have it. This video was a little bit complex. If you don't know Zelda lore like I do, or if you do know Zelda lore and you see something wrong in there that you think that could be adjusted and fixed, please let me know. But if you don't know the Zelda lore, just sit back, and hopefully you enjoyed that. But I do, anybody that hasn't played the Zelda games, I suggest going to do so, because you're going to find out that it's not always about Princess Zelda. There's other aspects of it, and the reason Princess Zelda's name comes up in it a lot is because it revolves around Zelda herself. And each Zelda is considered as a ancestor. Each Link and Zelda are considered an ancestor of themselves, so they meet multiple times throughout existence and stuff like that. It's really wild to think about, but I do like these games a lot, and I like the stories that they tell. But that does it for me. If you like this wild lore I just explained to you, or if you really, really enjoy this kind of stuff and listening to me babble on about this, then that's fine. But if you do like it, please hit the like button. please subscribe to the channel. And I'll be doing more like this in the future. As you can see, there was something else there that bugged me, and I'm going to look into it. I'm going to try to figure out where that race went. But until next time, guys, take it easy, and I'll see you around, and keep gaming, gamers.